Today we're diving into one of England's most bizarre unsolved mysteries. Or maybe it is solved. You know what? You decide by the end of the video. Devon, England, February 8, 1855. A morning so cold that Satan himself would have worn mittens. Fresh snow blanketed the countryside, creating a perfect winter wonderland that would have gone viral if social media had existed back then. Picture this. A local man, let's call him John, steps outside of his cottage, ready to begin another thrilling day of Victorian-era farming. You know, the one where the most advanced technology has a slightly sharper shovel than the one your neighbor has. But instead of contemplating his fertilizer choices, John notices something odd in the pristine snow. Tracks. Not human tracks, not fox tracks, something else. And this, my friends, is where our little historical nightmare begins. John's first thought? Probably a goat got loose, or maybe a very determined deer with OCD. But upon closer inspection, he realizes these aren't your garden variety hoof prints. They're perfectly spaced, like whatever made them was following an invisible military drill sergeant. They're in a straight line, too, as if whatever creature this was had never heard of the concept of wandering casually. And they're cloven, split right down the middle. John follows these tracks to the garden wall, a 6-foot-high stone barrier that would have made any HOA proud. And the tracks, they march right up to the wall and stop with no turning. On a whim, John looks onto the other side of the wall, and he's in shock to see that the tracks continue right into the road as if they walked directly through the wall. They didn't turn, they just continue, as if whatever made them just casually strolled through solid stone. Soon the entire village is out, tracking the tracks and wondering what this strange visitor was. Soon they discover that these footprints are everywhere in the village. They even traverse the frozen River Exe as if ice skating was just beneath them. And they go into the next village, 18 miles of mysterious hoofprints, through 30 different locations, all in a single night. You can practically smell the panic brewing at this point. It wasn't just because personal hygiene was still considered optional in 1855 either. The growing mob follows the tracks through the village, past the pub, across the river center, past the pub again, into the stables, and then back to the pub, out onto the road, and then one more time past the pub, just to make sure, until they reach the town hall, and then the tracks stop. Dead end. Case closed, right? Not quite. A teenager comes running out from behind town hall, pale-faced, saying the tracks inexplicably continue on the other side, like whatever this thing was had just walked directly through the building. Or did it? Some cocky lad decides to check the roof. Climbing up, he nearly falls off in shock. The cloven hoof prints continue on the roof and several other roofs across the town, just like it had walked up the side of the building and refused to change course, walking across the roofs. The village constable finally arrives. That's Victorian for the one guy with the big stick that checks out possible demonic joggers. He takes one look and does what any professional law enforcement officer would do. Absolutely nothing helpful, while looking importantly concerned and repeating, "What's all this then?" Then the local priest shows up. While everyone else is freaking out, he's eerily calm. The kind of calm that makes you a little bit more nervous, not less. He simply says,
"This isn't the first time that evil has visited Devon, my children."
Cue the collective, "oh crap," from everyone present. Because you see, this wasn't Devon's first supernatural rodeo. Let's rewind to October 21st, 1638. The great thunderstorm of Widecombe. Picture it. Sunday service in the local church. Everyone's there. Partly for God, partly because church was literally the only entertainment option besides watching the local squirrels gather nuts. Suddenly, boom, the mother of all thunderstorms. Lightning strikes the church tower. A literal ball of fire. Sounds a little scientifically dubious, but hey, it's the 1600s, so we'll give it a break. It crashes through the roof. 4 people are dead, 60 injured. One boy who had been playing cards during the sermon, supposedly he disappears entirely, because nothing says divine punishment like targeted smiting of the church's bad boy. The locals had a simple explanation. The devil came to Widecombe to punish sinners, because in the 1600s, apparently, the worst thing in the world was playing cards in church. Yep, no other egregious sins that going on that might require the devil's attention. He really hates teenagers playing cards in church. I mean, war, famine, horrors, unspeakable atrocities? Boring. But playing Go Fish in the house of God, that requires the wrath of the devil himself. So back in 1855 in those strange hoofprints, what made these tracks? Let's examine the theories. Animals? Nah. Unless it was bipedal goat with OCD who was into free running. Weather patterns? Some suggested a rain, thaw, freeze cycle created these marks. Yeah, because we know how rain naturally falls in perfectly spaced hoof patterns across 18 miles, right? Another idea, maybe a kangaroo escaped from a local menagerie. That was an actual theory that people had. But if it were a kangaroo, he was wearing cloven hoof shoes. Maybe he was into cosplay, right? Another possibility, maybe it was local pranksters. Sure, maybe these teens had access to specialized equipment, superhuman stamina, the ability to walk on water and up walls, and a deep desire to terrify their community instead of doing whatever the Victorian equivalent of TikTok challenges were. Meanwhile, Devon turns to paranoia central. Doors are locked, holy water stockpiled, everyone is eyeing their neighbor suspiciously. Hey, is Mrs. Henderson actually Satan? She does make really good scones. For a long time, there's no closure, no answer. It just becomes one of those things, a story that's told for generations about the night that the devil walked through Devon. Fast forward now to the 1930s. Writer Jeffrey Household is sipping brandy in a gentleman's club when he hears a fascinating tale from an elderly patron. This old guy's talking about that night in Devon.
All the cops were lying. They knew exactly what happened.
The old guy says the man claims his dad was in the military, stationed at the Devon Naval Base, and he was a part of the whole thing. What was it really? Surely a military conspiracy is just as strange and mysterious as the devil walking at night, right? Well, no. The truth makes entirely too much sense. Not aliens, not Satan, just good old-fashioned military incompetence. Humanity's most reliable constant. The night before was a terrible winter storm, high winds. A hydrogen balloon at the naval base broke free of its tethers in the wind. As it's blown across the countryside, two heavy mooring ropes dangle beneath it, each ending in a shackle. These metal clamps bounce along the snow, creating, you guessed it, perfectly spaced, hoof-like impressions. The balloon, carried by straight-line winds, create straight-line tracks. It floats over walls, rooftops, and rivers, explaining this impossible path. And when it finally crashes into a greenhouse 18 miles away, the military secretly retrieves it, pays off the farmer, and classifies the whole embarrassing incident. Imagine those soldiers sneaking away with the balloon parts, whispering, "Yeah, look, if anyone asks, just tell them the devil did it, okay?" So why, despite this perfectly reasonable explanation, do the devil's footprints remain one of Devon's most enduring mysteries? Simple. Humans love a good supernatural story. Military balloon accident? That's boring. Satan taking a midnight stroll through your village? Now that's a story worth telling at the pub for the next 170 years. The devil's footprints have become more than just tracks in the snow. They're a symbol of Devon history, a testament to our love of mystery, and a reminder that sometimes the scariest explanation isn't supernatural evil, but human error covered up by embarrassed officials. In a choice between admitting someone screwed up and believing the devil went for a jog, we'll pick the devil every time. After all, which would you rather believe happened in your backyard? Unless, of course, that's just what the devil wants you to think. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more historical mysteries with a side of sarcasm. See you next time.